The following is a production of Cary TV, the Town of Cary's government access channel.
Call to order the May 12th meeting of the Cary Town Council. Before we get started, I want to point out that Councilmember Bush is not here. She had to unexpectedly leave town, so she will not be joining us this evening. So this time I'll call on Councilmember Robinson for our ceremonial opening.
Well, thank you so much. Please join me in pledging allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
There's a motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now move to recognitions, reports, and presentations. This is item 2 on your agenda. Our first item is a presentation of a proclamation recognizing May 15th through the 21st as Public Works Week. And I'll ask our Public Works Director, Scott Hecht, and the long-tenured Public Works staff members who are in attendance tonight to join me at the podium. Thank you all for being here. This one. Cary has one of the best public works departments in the state, if not the nation. I give a lot of speeches and I talk about town staff, and we have a great town staff, but a lot of the examples I give is about what our public works department does and some of the things they have done, some even off the clock to help people. You guys are pretty amazing. And you don't get the recognitions you deserve. You deserve a lot of recognition because you're the face of the town, and people think a lot of you. And I can tell you, I get criticisms and complaints almost on an hourly basis sometimes. But it's very rare that I get one about public works at all. That goes to show what an excellent job you all are doing. So to honor Public Works Week in the town of Cary, I want to read a proclamation. So whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, solid waste, and other service areas are of vital importance to the health, safety, and well-being of people in this community, and whereas the support and understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operations of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, streets, public buildings and grounds, parks, solid waste collection, recycling, and fleet services. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of the public works personnel, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depend on the facilities and services, whereas the town of Cary has a dedicated staff in the Public Works Department who works daily behind the scenes to implement the town's mission statement, which reads, "At the town of Cary, we focus every day on enriching the lives of our citizens by creating an exceptional environment and providing exemplary services that enable our community to thrive and prosper. Now, therefore, I, Harold Weinberg, Jr., Mayor of the town of Cary, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim May 15th through the 21st, 2016, as Public Works Week in the town of Cary in conjunction with the National Public Works Week. Furthermore, I call on citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works services and to recognize the contributions that public works officials make every day to our health, safety, and comfort and quality of life. Proclaim this 12th day of May, 2016. Mr. Heck, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and I promised Mike I would only be 5 minutes per person. So. I did something different this year, and actually I say this year, I don't come up here every year, every 3, and one of the phrases in there talks about us being behind-the-scenes folks, and that's kind of why I don't come up every year for National Public Works Week. I do it about every 3 years because we don't really love the FaceTime. We like doing things behind the scene. But I do want to thank you very much for all the support you've always given us. There's been some challenging times over the last 8 years, and by far we've always received the things, the resources, the tools we've needed to do our jobs. So with that, thank you so much. I did want to take 2 seconds. You mentioned the people in my group. So I want to do something different, is recognize some outstanding folks that have been, there's 183 years of experience here. I'm going to introduce them real quick and get out of here. First is Brenda Mann. She runs our customer service department. I looked up in the dictionary customer service, and somewhere in a long paragraph I saw Brenda's name. Probably the best there is, and whenever you see press releases that talk about dial 469-4090, that's Brenda. Next is Alan Caswell, and right next to him is David Trowbridge, both in our operations division, 28 years and 30. You've seen so much on the A-team in our press releases. Those 2 guys pretty much got that started. They've, in our ops division, anytime you're seeing any kind of street repair, water, sewer type repairs, middle of the night, snow removal, those 2 guys in their division is doing it. Next, Jeff Weldon is our fleet service advisor, 31 years with the town. We've got about 1,400 pieces of equipment that run through our fleet maintenance division. Jeff is checking them in, prioritizing work, and making sure it's all flowing through the best we can, and phenomenal guy, 31 years. You'll all relate to Dale North very well. 33 years with the town in facilities. A couple of years ago, council approved a priority ranking median planting project. Dale leads that whole effort of all of our planting projects. He's an expediter in the facilities division, and all the median plantings you see out in the town of Cary, Dale had something to do with every one of them. And finally, I can't get rid of this guy. 39 years. Wow. Sammy Garris, the longest tenured employee in the town. He's been in the solid waste division for all 39 years. He picks up my garbage. No one else will pick up my garbage but Sammy. And what a saint. And again, about customer service, there's none other like Sammy. 39 years with the town. So these are the faces. They all are in his respective division in Public Works, and I didn't feel right coming up here without them. So thank you again for everything.
What a great group of people. We have another great group of people to recognize tonight, and that's our Building Safety Month group. So I would like to ask our interim director, Ken Hawley, to join me at the podium. Oh, he's already here. Good to see you. So building safety is very important. I'm having construction done at my house right now. You know, I want to make sure when that house is done with construction that it's done correctly and I don't have to worry about it. That's what these guys do, and they do it so well. People from all over the world, I think, have asked, how do you do this job? And so they provide advice and expertise to many, many people in many, many different places. And we do want to recognize all that you do in the town of Cary by proclaiming this month as Building Safety Month. So I'd like to read a proclamation recognizing that. Whereas, through continuing efforts to address critical issues of safety, energy efficiency, and sustainability in the built environment that affect our citizens, both everyday lives and in the time of natural disaster, we are confident that our structures are safe and sound. And whereas the international codes are most widely adopted building safety, energy, and fire prevention codes in the nation, they are used by most United States cities, counties, and states. These modern building safety codes include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters, such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, fires, and earthquakes. Whereas vigilant guardians, the building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, and others in the construction industry work year-round to implement the international codes to protect all of us in the buildings where we live, we learn, work, and play. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council and the International Code Council Foundation to remind us about the critical role of our local code officials who work tirelessly to ensure we have safe, efficient, and livable buildings. The 2016 theme is Building Codes Driving Growth Through Innovation, Resiliency, and Safety. And whereas we observe Building Safety Month, we are proud to publicly acknowledge the essential services that our code officials provide our community, which protects lives and property here in Cary. Now, therefore, I, Harold Weinberg, Jr., Mayor of the town of Cary, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2016 as Building Safety Month in the town of Cary, and I encourage all of our citizens to participate in the town's Building Safety Month activities in the local Lowe's home improvement stores during the month of May. Furthermore, we applaud all town of Cary staff that play a role in building safety, and we extend our appreciation to them for their enhancing the quality of life of all the Cary citizens by providing health, safety, and welfare. Proclaim this 12th day of May 2016. Thank you.
Mayor Weinberg, Town Council members, on behalf of the Inspection and Permit staff, I'd like to thank you and accept this proclamation. We sincerely appreciate your support, and we appreciate this recognition. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to recognize, I'm seeing someone go to the podium. Okay, I'm going to recognize Deputy Town Manager Mike Bajorek for the presentation of fiscal year 2017 budget and the interim town manager's report. And they'll be presented by Mr. Bajorek, and I'll just leave it at that. It's all yours.
I'll get this, Mayor. I've asked our budget director, Carl Knapp, to be moving the slides so that.
Okay.
Back in October, I had 5 goals when we started preparing this year's budget process. They were: I wanted to present a balanced budget that did not include a tax increase, and this budget does that. Secondly, I wanted to continue the programs to reward our organization's high performers for the great work that they do, and this budget does that. Thirdly, I wanted to shore up our operational areas that are feeling the stress of meeting the service demands of our growing community, and this budget does that. Next, I wanted to enhance our organization's ability to break down the silos that exist between departments by enhancing our ability to make timely, accurate, and more data-driven decisions, improving our project management and process improvement capabilities, and increasing our ability to provide responsive and, most importantly, courteous service to both internal and external customers. And this budget lays the foundation for us to do that. And finally, I wanted to develop a capital construction program that laid out a path that would accomplish the priorities Council gave staff during your October work session. And I believe this budget does that. Before I lay out the specifics of the plan, I just want to say that while my name may be on this budget, it was truly a team effort. Russ Overton and Tim Bailey, our assistant managers, were critical in the development of the budget. Carl Knapp and his budget staff are second to none in the state. They did a great job facilitating the process and crunching all the numbers to make sure everything added up. And most importantly, our department directors. They went through their activities with a fine-tooth comb, and it's because of their efforts that we were able to find the margin to do the important work that is included in this budget. So, Mayor, I just wanted to say up front, we are blessed to have the outstanding staff that sits here today. And the budget in summary, I am recommending an operating budget of $227.8 million. That is a 4.5% increase over the FY16 adopted budget, and a capital budget of $91.4 million. As you are aware, the FY 2017 is a property revaluation year for Wake County. The town's revenue-neutral tax rate has been calculated to be 34.95 cents. The recommended budget for FY 2017 includes a rounded tax rate of 35 cents, which is in keeping with our longstanding practice of using whole numbers. Rounding the rate would add $1.50 to the tax bill of a home valued at $300,000. Just to be clear, I am recommending a 35-cent tax rate, which is a decrease of 2 cents from the current rate of 37 cents. Finally, the budget includes a rate increase for our water and sewer customers. The monthly bill for a household using 5,000 gallons will increase about 3.8%, or $2.85. As the chart indicates, I'm recommending an additional 25 new positions, and these positions are spread over 11 departments. Carl? Now, some of the highlights that are included in the budget are the creation of a unit within the manager's office to assist all departments with data analysis, process improvement, and project management. Additionally, the implementation of a restructuring plan within our technology services department, which will position us to be more effectively respond to emerging technologies and to integrate our town software systems. This budget will also continue our practice of migrating town software applications to a cloud-based platform, which will facilitate the implementation of a comprehensive customer relationship management capability in FY 2017. Operationally speaking, the budget includes the addition of 3 new police officers, 2 emergency communication officers, a new recycling crew, an additional yard waste crew, and a community outreach specialist within our Parks and Recreation Department. We hope that this would improve recreational services to various underserved segments of our population. In our development area, this budget includes a new planner and a new development liaison to help our citizens and businesses receive prompt, courteous review of their development plans. Now, on the capital side, last year, the town changed its capital process to limit the projects included in the first 5 years of the capital plan by the amount and types of funding that is projected to be available in each of the 5 years, which left several high-priority projects without funding. Based on the guidance we received from you during the October priority work session, we have developed a plan that uses debt to fund some of these high-priority projects that you had brought out. This is something different than we've had done in the past. Some of the projects that are identified in the plan that would be funded by debt in the 2017 year are the construction of a new fire station on Walnut Street, the purchase of an aerial ladder truck that would be put into operation next year in 2018 to ensure response times to structural fires in Western Cary. That will be similar to the rest of the town. The construction of a larger evidence storage facility for the police department to handle the growing inventory of evidence. Now, Mayor, I feel obligated to add, if Chief Godwin and his officers would stop doing such a great job of solving criminal cases, we could probably drop this project. In addition, we have also looked out a little bit farther and developed a plan that would use funding from a potential bond referendum in November of 2018. Projects that could be funded through this process include a new community center at Mills Park, a fire station on O'Kelly Chapel Road in southwest portion of Cary, and the widening of Chapel Hill Road between Reedy Creek and Academy Street. In conclusion, I know there will be a lot of discussion about the potential use of debt to finance some of our capital projects. It's interesting to note that if we decided to only use current funding sources, almost 75% of the capital funding over the next 5 years would go toward just maintaining our existing facilities. In terms of the next steps, there will be a council work session to discuss this proposal on Tuesday, May 24th, and a budget public hearing at your regular council meeting on Thursday, May 26th. Additional budget reviews have been scheduled and are on the website. Mayor, that is, in a nutshell is the description of the proposed budget, and I'd be glad to answer any questions, or we could move on and talk about it on the 24th.
I think that's an excellent proposed budget, and I look forward to working with the council as we discuss it. You guys have done a great job in the past, which kind of limits our discussion because you've heard us in October and you pretty much implement it. When we get to budgets, not a lot of changes going on. So thanks again to Mr. Knapp and his staff and all the other directors for all that you've done to get us to this point. Questions from council members? No, I think we're good. Proceed.
Wonderful.
An operational update, Mr. Mayor, and I think this fits right into the discussion of the proposed budget. We received a notice of an unsolicited interim bond rating report issued by Moody's this past Monday. And I thought it was interesting just to read a paragraph from that report. It states, Cary has an outstanding credit position, and its AAA rating far surpasses the median rating of AAA for cities nationwide. Notably, credit factors include a wealthy social-economic profile and tax base, and a very healthy financial position. It also takes into account a low debt liability with an affordable pension burden. So once again, through our Karen Mills and her staff, Carl and his staff, we are in the decisions that the council has made. We are in great financial shape.
Wonderful news. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Pajor? All right. Thank you again, and thanks to all of the staff for what you've done to make us so strong financially. Thanks. We now move to Public Speaks Out. We've included instructions for speaking at this forum on the printed agenda. If you'd like to speak, I'd ask that you sit in the rows to my right that are shown as reserved and follow the instructions on the agenda. Public Speaks Out speakers have 3 minutes for their comments, and they may speak on any topic as long as it's not a public hearing. And since we have no public hearings, you can speak about anything you want. As I said, there will be a 3-minute time limit, which I will enforce to be fair to all of our speakers. There's a timer on the podium. It'll start out with a green light, and when it turns to a yellow light, that means you have 30 seconds remaining. And when it changes to a red light, a flashing red light, at that moment I will interrupt you, not trying to be rude, but trying to be fair to all of our speakers, and ask you to immediately conclude your comments. Public Speaks Out has a 1-hour time limit. I thank all of our speakers in advance for adhering to the 3-minute time limit we have imposed, and ask that groups have a spokesperson to represent them and speak on their behalf to reduce repetitive comments. I thank everyone in our audience for respecting that this is a business meeting. Please do not applaud, make remarks from your seats, or anything else that may distract from this meeting. So now's the time for Public Speaks Out, and I would invite our first speaker forward.
Good evening. My name is Ann Kratzer. In 1985, the Council was faced with the loss of the rapidly deteriorating 1868 Walker Hotel, valued at $4,000. The town didn't own the hotel or property and was low on surplus funds. But the Council, to its great credit, recognized the hotel's value as a symbol of the greatness of its founders and chose to find a way to restore the historic hotel. The Page Walker Arts and History Center is now a community treasure where 32,000 visitors a year are involved in the arts, education, and history. What tremendous foresight. Today we have a similar challenge and responsibility to keep the only other vestige of our founders safe on its historic site, the 1874 Ivy Ellington House on West Chatham Street. The Ivy Ellington is similar to the Page Walker in that it reflects the wisdom of our amazing founders to use internationally known architectural styles not normally found in small villages. The Gothic Revival style in home design is rare, and residents also enjoy the welcoming front lawn for wonderful community experiences. The difference between saving the Page Walker and today's discussion of the Ivy Ellington is that the town owns the Ivy Ellington and the original site. The developer is proposing to eliminate the Ivy Ellington as part of the existing streetscape for West Chatham and move it to a location behind Elizabeth's in which the surrounding environment would now include the back of several stores and a dumpster. What a lost opportunity. If left on its historic site, the house could be a celebration of Cary, much like the Page Walker, with many exciting possibilities. To summarize, please keep the Ivy Ellington as part of the West Chatham streetscape and retain ownership of the building and grounds. Please challenge our Cary developer to design an alternative idea that is sensitive to the historic character of the area and includes building heights that step down to adjacent lower story structures. And 3, Council is known as a deliberative body that avoids the expedient and bases policy on long-term considerations. I urge Council to continue to apply this approach to the development on West Chatham. This project is a great responsibility as well as an opportunity to show that Cary continues to be the leader in exceptional planning. Thank you so much, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Anyone?
Good
Can I
evening.
get you to move to your left?
Sorry.
The people upstairs will be very happy.
All right. Good evening. My name is Tracy Callahan, and I am the founder of the Polka Dot Mama Melanoma Foundation located here in Cary. I'm a 3-time melanoma survivor and a longtime resident of Cary. In January of 2016, the Surgeon General declared skin cancer an epidemic in the United States. It is estimated that 1 in 5 people will develop skin cancer in their lifetime. Melanoma, which is the deadliest form of skin cancer, is responsible for nearly 9,000 deaths per year in the United States, and someone dies every hour of every day from this terrible cancer. Melanoma is actually the fastest growing cancer in this country and the most commonly diagnosed cancer in young people ages 15 to 29. The amazing thing is that melanoma and skin cancer are the most preventable cancers. Incidentally, May is Melanoma Awareness Month. One of our foundation's endeavors includes making the town of Cary sun-safe. We hope to do so by providing free sunscreen to the community at parks, pools, and all around town. You may have seen the strange-looking device that was going around on a scooter. That is actually a touchless sunscreen dispenser. We're really excited that Cary Park will be the first community in Cary who will be installing these touchless sunscreen dispensers next week. It's available for people to use to get if they forget their sunscreen at home. And the amazing thing is that we work with local sponsors, companies, and not only will they provide sunscreen for the community, but they also have an opportunity to provide their branding on this device. In addition to providing sunscreen, we also hope to see more shaded structures in our parks and ball fields. As a mom of a Town of Cary baseball player, my family and I really struggle to find shade. I can be the woman who is found underneath a large umbrella, under a hat, and my UPF clothing, and it really is a challenge. And I see so many people baking out there in the stands at the ball fields. And I think as a community, we need to do a better job at providing shade for our community. Lastly, the one thing we would love to provide is free education about sun safety, not only to our community members, but also to the city workers who are outside every day being exposed to the sun. Our foundation is willing to do that through short in-services, and we do also hope to be able to provide those town council or those Town of Cary workers with sunscreen as well. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my mission with you this evening. I hope to have an opportunity to work more closely with the Town of Cary in helping to make our town sun-safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Christine Furman, and I live at 604 President's Walk Lane in Carpenter Village. Thank you for giving all of us the time to speak with you tonight. Before I begin, I'd like to mention that with regard to the Carpenter Village PDD amendment, we learned today that the applicant's representative had requested the case be pulled from the Planning and Zoning Board agenda, scheduled for this coming Monday night, the 16th, as the applicant is considering amending their plan and needs more time to do so. While we are encouraged to hear this, we still believe it important to provide an overview of the communications that has occurred between the Carpenter Village residents and community and the applicant. We have not had any communication with the property owners and developers, the Farrell Land Company and Parkway Properties Group, LLC. We have, however, heard from the builder, Alan Powell, who is the division president of H&H Homes of Fayetteville, and their marketing representative, Pat O'Neill, of the Land Company. In most interactions with our group so far, Mr. O'Neill has represented the developer and the builder. In December, Mr. O'Neill appeared at the Carpenter Village Homeowners Association annual meeting to discuss the project. His attendance was not announced prior to the meeting, which was attended by only a handful of people. None of us knew about his appearance. On February 3rd, the applicant held the required neighborhood meeting. About 30 Carpenter Village residents attended. The builder, the engineer, and Mr. O'Neill presented a site plan showing the ground floor of the proposed commercial condo buildings, along with an outline of the townhome buildings. When asked if he had renderings of the buildings' elevations or how high the buildings were to be, Mr. O'Neill responded that the builder was still working with the developer and not to worry that the buildings would look great as they would be approved by the Architectural Review Board. What he failed to mention is that the Architectural Review Board for the Village Center consists only of the developers and is separate from that of the Architectural Review Board for the neighborhood as a whole. For most of the residents, this was our first interaction with the builder and Mr. O'Neill. How a builder could complete detailed site plans, design the first floor of a building, hire an attorney, a land planner, and an engineer, complete the financial analysis required to contract for land, and submit a rezoning.
Sorry to have to interrupt you, but your time has expired.
All right, thank you.
If you would like, you could leave your comments with the town clerk, and she'll make sure that we get a copy of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, good evening. My name is Elizabeth Cole Walker, and I live at 207 Magnolia Bloom Court in Carpenter Village. During the 10 weeks between the neighborhood meeting and the public hearing, we reached out to Mr. O'Neill several times requesting exterior building renderings of the proposed development. Received none. On the day prior to the public hearing, front-only renderings were delivered and made public. This provided residents little time to react and certainly not enough time to canvass the neighborhood and provide awareness of the project. About 20 of us were able to attend the public hearing, but only one spoke because there was lack of sufficient project information prior to the hearing. The necessary information was not available to property for the property proposed rezoning. We do not think that the lack of timing and detailed information was a coincidence. The builder still refused to release renderings of the side and rear of the proposed buildings. Why? Why would he wait so long to provide such basic project information? To his credit, after the public hearing, Mr. O'Neill did reach out to us as a group and scheduled a meeting to discuss the project. Again, he was asked to provide renderings of the side and rear of the buildings, and we received no reply. It is, at this point, we organized and created a Google Drive with all the information of the proposed rezoning that we could find, including the documents on the Town Cary website. One of our neighbors in the IT field took the drawings that were rendered by the developer and three-dimensionalized them, and that's what you see in front of you right now. One of our members with extensive experience in surveys developed an 8-question online survey. We'll share the results with you tonight. And we posted signs, went door to door to almost every community member to ask to complete the survey. We met with town council folks, and we also encouraged our members to reach out to the town council and the planning and zoning board, and I know that they did do that. You have heard from them. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Hi there. My name is Carolyn Telford. I live at 205 Poplar Branch Lane in Carpenter Village. I'm continuing where Elizabeth left off. Our meeting with Mr. O'Neill was on May 5th and held in our neighborhood clubhouse. 90 residents showed up, which is about capacity in that little place. It was the most of any meeting we've had in recent memory. So many people there. Also attending was Mark Evangelista, the chair of the Planning and Zoning Board, along with 2 other P&Z board members. Mr. O'Neill and the builder, Mr. Powell, spent the meeting attempting to convince the residents that the proposed project, which you have a little bit in front of you there, complemented the design of the existing Carpenter Village Center, and would enhance the overall community. The intent was clear, not really to work with us that night, but to persuade us that their project was the only possible way that the Village Center could be profitably developed. We heard a lot about profit that night. When asked to present information from the marketing studies addressing the saleability of $350,000 to $500,000 condominiums in that location, and the leasing of the retail space that no one has run to for years, Mr. O'Neill, whose company is doing the marketing for the project, stated that those studies were still ongoing. We struggle to understand how one arrives at this stage of the rezoning process, proposing to spend tens of millions of dollars on a project without completing an in-depth market analysis and analysis of the comps. After repeated requests prior to this meeting on the 5th, Mr. O'Neill did finally present a rendering of the rear of the condo commercial buildings. We had only seen the front. Sadly, it was a nice poster, a rendering from an artist of a view from the other end of the Village Center, 600 feet away, with a majority of the rear facade hidden by trees. After having asked for months for information on the sides and rear of the buildings, quite frankly, it was insulting. Mr. O'Neill also presented information on height of the commercial condo buildings that contradicted information previously provided by the town of Cary and verbally by Mr. O'Neill himself. We presented our survey results, which at the time consisted of 68 responses. We now have over 260. At the meeting, we reached out to both Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Powell several times requesting more accurate drawings of the sides and the rears of the building. We still do not have that. We are hopeful that the applicants will be much more open with the residents moving forward as we seek a project that meets the needs of all involved. We are very interested in seeing the Village Center completed in a way that complements the existing successful neighborhood that Carpenter Village has become. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. You'll probably be happy to know that I'm the last person to speak from Carpenter Village. Thank you very much for taking information from us. What you're receiving now...
Give us your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Catherine Barone, and I live at 104 Magnolia Bloom Court. I'm here to share the results of the survey that's been mentioned and was developed by the neighbors of Carpenter Village community related to the proposed development by H&H Homes of the roughly 10-acre tract of land in the Carpenter Village core shop area. In just 13 days, we have collected responses from 265 neighbors in an area comprised of roughly 628 homes. You're receiving a copy of the survey that we sent electronically and a summary of the results of the survey to date. On page 2 of the summary of survey results, please note that 94.3% of survey respondents prefer building heights consistent with the surrounding buildings, which are 3 stories or less, while H&H Homes is proposing 4 four-story buildings. On page 3 of the summary, you'll note that 93.2% of survey respondents prefer a facade consistent with the look and feel of the existing neighborhood, while H&H Homes proposes a facade that bears no resemblance to the quaint Charleston architectural appeal of our neighborhood. On page 4 of the results, when asked how supportive respondents were of the current site design, which again calls for 4 four-story buildings set on the perimeter of the lot, 75.8% of survey respondents are not at all supportive of the current site design as proposed by H&H. On page 5 of the results, when asked overall how they felt about the development as proposed, 64.9% were not at all supportive of the new project as proposed. And lastly, on page 6 of the results, when asked about parking locations, 40.2% of our survey respondents preferred parking in the front of proposed shops, whereas H&H proposes parking only behind the property, well beyond garages that will be allocated for condo residents. We hope that by allowing us to share these results, you have some understanding of the thoughts of our neighborhood regarding the project proposed by H&H Homes, and we thank you for your time and consideration. Thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Anyone else for Public Speaks Out? Anyone at all? Seeing no one, we'll close Public Speaks Out. And we'll move to the consent agenda. This is item 4. It's my understanding that Councilmember Robinson would like item 4.8.
4.7 and 4.8.
4.7 and 4.8 voted on separately. So therefore, I would, before I get there, I'd like to read the items on the consent agenda. And you can help me point out which ones you're talking about when I get there. Okay. So on the consent agenda, we have minutes. We have ratification resolution for Woodall subdivision, ratification resolution public storage West Cary, consideration bid award Cary Tennis Park, Searstone Phase 3, PDD amendment rezoning and consistency statement. Is that one? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mount Zion Church property on Lake Drive rezoning and consistency statement. Silver, I think that's supposed to be Silverstone.
Silverton.
Silverton.
Is it Silverton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says Silverton. Silverton parcel SPDD amendment rezoning and consistency statement. K. Horvanian at Lily Orchard LLC annexation. Lily Orchard open space rezoning and consistency statement. Cottages at Wellington comprehensive plan amendment. Maynard Crossing Court comprehensive plan amendment. Maynard Crossing Court mini storage rezoning and consistency statement. Consideration of amendments to traffic schedule and fiscal year 2016 street improvements. We're going to vote on items 4.7 and 4.8 separately. Would council members like any items pulled for discussion?
No.
If not, I would entertain a motion to approve all items except for 4.7 and 4.8.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And before we entertain a motion for 4.7 and 4.8, would you like to make an explanation?
Sure. So the developer of Searstone hired the company for whom I have worked, Berkshire Hathaway, to represent it. And to avoid any potential conflict, I'm asking to be recused from the vote.
Okay. Or abstain.
Abstain from the vote.
Abstain from the vote.
You'll permit me to abstain.
So we need a motion to recuse Ms.
No,
No, not to recuse, but to allow me to abstain.
She will abstain. She doesn't need a motion.
Oh, I don't
to be
need a
recused.
motion to?
No.
Okay.
My understanding.
That's
she can
correct.
just
The law
abstain.
was changed last year, as you all may remember, and you're permitted to abstain.
So I just abstain. I don't have to ask for permission to
You
abstain.
have to notify the mayor that you'll be abstaining.
Okay.
Other than that, that's it.
So
I'll be
you will be
abstaining.
abstaining.
Yeah.
So I would
Just from the
entertain
vote,
a motion.
though.
Think about that.
Oh, okay.
Make a motion to approve consent items 4.7 and 4.8.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Motion carries. Motion carries 5-0 with one abstention. Thank you. Didn't mean to make that too complicated. Sorry. We're going to move now to, we have no public hearings. We're going to move to discussion items. Our first discussion item is a request to approve sublease agreement at Soccer Park with Carolina FC. Mr. McGraney of our staff will present the information, and council may take action. Mr. McGraney.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This staff report before you is a request for authorization to enter into a sublease with the Railhawks for a term of 3 years. Since 2006, the town has entered into a series of subleases with the Railhawks, and during that time, the Railhawks have gone through a series of owners, with local businessman Steve Malik, the most recent owner, having purchased the team in late 2015. The most recent approval of the latest sublease was in October of 2015, where Council approved a 1-year sublease with the Railhawks. The new sublease that we've been negotiating since October is very similar to what was already approved. One of the major differences has been that the overall rent has been increased and includes a flat annual fee for concessions. Beyond the rent, the agreement includes a series of variable rent items, including costs to manage the video board, and a series of options for traffic control to improve egress and ingress into and out of the park. And in fact, that was one of the major items that we discussed with the Railhawks. One of the things that they made plain to us is that they were going to make a considerable investment in marketing, along with an investment in the number of, or the quality of players that they were going to bring in. In fact, the Railhawks record right now is 4-1. There also has been an increase in attendance, and their point to us is that we're going to do this, but we want to make sure that any of the fans who are attending will want to come back. And so the agreement is a little confusing. There's a lot of different things in there. A lot of that relates to different options that they have that they'll pay for to help improve getting people into and out of the park, like paying for striping and things like that, along with additional officers along Chatham Street. So I just wanted to make that plain as if you're reading it. The other thing is kind of interesting. It's a future potential proposal, but it includes an option for the development of a soccer school at Wake Med. And there is considerable interest within the soccer community to develop a soccer school model after, I think it's the Madrid model, where the kids go to school, they're right there, they can practice soccer, and there's a complete interface between the school experience and soccer, and it's designed for elite players. So there's that potential that we talked about what that might cost if they were to utilize the multi-purpose room that all of councils used, at the Wake Med Soccer Park. So, enough said there. Agreement will take us through 2018 with an option for renewal in 2019, 2020. And so, staff recommendation, it's on the staff report, recommends council adopt a resolution approving a sublease similar to the existing sublease as modified by the term sheet, and authorize the town manager to, number one, finalize negotiations consistent with the term sheet attached here, two, execute such negotiated sublease, and three, provide such notices and execute such other instruments as contemplated by or reasonably necessary to sublease. Enough said, and I'll answer, just trying to be official, and I'll answer any questions that council may have.
Questions or comments for Mr. McGraney?
No.
I've got a question. So I read in the media that a Premier League team is going to come.
Yes.
That is, in case you don't know soccer that well, that is the best of the best in the world is going to play here in Cary. And I guarantee you that one will sell out. They'll be coming from all over the southeast to go to.
We expect to sell out. Railhawks expect to sell out. It's the same league as Manchester United. So what, pardon?
I want to go to that one, by the way.
It's July 12th.
12th? July 12th.
12th, yeah.
Okay. This is very, very exciting. That was the other thing they talked about, too. Again, getting back to my comments, that they were going to make a concerted effort to bring in international teams. Those teams are considered part of the 2022 game package that they're allowed. And so this is what we want. We want to bring the best team, best talent, to Cary, to the Triangle. So we're excited.
It appears they're well on their way to what they said they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. McGraney. We move to our next discussion item, 6.2, Mayfair Community Activity Center Comprehensive Plan Amendment. Staff will give a report. We're going to hear from the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation, and afterwards, Council may take action on this item. We will discuss the related rezoning case afterwards. Mr. Ramage.
Good evening, Council. Yes, this is a request to amend the comprehensive plan for about 3.6 acres on Southwest Maynard Road. The site is on the north side of Southwest Maynard at the intersection with Kilmaine Drive. The eastern property boundary abuts the Food Lion at Mayfair Plaza, and part of the southern boundary comes up against the Brugger's Bagel Shop and a small retail building. Immediately west and north of the site is the Birch Rose subdivision. The site is made up of two parcels. The larger parcel is split-zoned general commercial and residential 12, with most of the larger parcel also included inside of the Mayfair mixed-use overlay district. The smaller parcel of the assemblage is zoned R12. On the land use plan map, most of the site is within the Mayfair mixed-use activity center. The boundary of that activity center is shown with the bold blue line on this map. Most of the site also has an underlying designation on the land use plan map of commercial. A small portion is outside the activity center and is designated as low-density residential. Activity centers are intended to include a mix of shopping, employment, and housing, and so accordingly, the long-range vision for the portion of the site within the activity center includes not only the commercial uses designated by the red color, but also the possibility for office or housing uses. The applicants are requesting to remove the site from the Mayfair Activity Center and to also redesignate the site as office and light industrial. The proposed office industrial land use category would support a vision for either light industrial, office, or flex uses. The office industrial category is most often used to designate a desire for future light industrial uses, such as manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, laboratories, heavy vehicle repair, material storage, and so forth. The first public hearing for the plan amendment was held before Council on January 27, and a second hearing was held before the Planning Board on March the 21st. However, no citizens spoke at the Planning Board hearing. This slide summarizes the citizen comments heard at the first hearing that was before Council, so you may remember those comments. The staff report for this case includes analysis of 5 considerations for the case. The first consideration concerns the development metrics for the Mayfair Activity Center as compared to the metric guidelines contained in the land use plan. As you can see in this chart that compares the two, the center is doing fine in terms of commercial and office space. The center is a little bit light in terms of moderate density housing within the immediate boundaries of the center. However, of course, this is an older center and is completely surrounded by established neighborhoods. The second consideration evaluated in your report concerns the suitability of the site for future infill development. Regarding potential commercial uses, the site does have limited visibility along Maynard Road. That, coupled with the existing adjacent buildings that also block part of the view into the site, probably makes it unlikely, in staff's opinion, that the site would support uses such as dining, general retail, or corporate or professional office. However, feasible non-residential uses still might exist for the site, including specialty retailers and neighborhood or professional office, as opposed to corporate office. Residential uses could also be highly suitable on the site and could offer perhaps the greatest opportunity for boosting adjacent property value. The third consideration evaluated in the report concerns how the site might work with supporting future redevelopment of Mayfair Plaza. The site would certainly have the greatest potential if there was the opportunity for that site to be incorporated into a larger redevelopment effort. However, at present, there are no plans for redevelopment of Mayfair Plaza. The fourth consideration evaluates the amendment in terms of its conformance with the purpose and intent of activity centers, and the 2 bullets on the side point out the major intent: to provide daily conveniences, shops, and employment within walking distance of homes, and to facilitate easy access between homes and shopping and conveniences. So the proposed light industrial uses aren't really a use that would support that purpose and intent of providing daily conveniences next to neighborhoods. The fifth and final consideration concerns conformance with Cary's practices and policies for achieving transitions between different kinds of land uses. So this slide just depicts the land use plan's approach for having a transitional use between a shopping center and neighborhood. So we find professional office or medium or higher density residential in the middle, sited between a shopping center and a neighborhood. So in that sense, the requested plan amendment does break with that approach by putting light industrial uses between a shopping center and a neighborhood, which isn't something we normally find in town. Cary's land development ordinance includes 4 criteria for consideration when evaluating plan amendment requests. In this particular location, the second criterion might apply, as the town's supply of land for light industrial uses has continued to contract over the last 20 years, and there's less available land in the established parts of Cary still remaining than there would be, for example, in western or southern Cary. The third criterion also applies, since sites such as this are a central topic for work currently being done for the town of Cary's new comprehensive plan. under the Imagine Cary project. So the new plan will specifically address topics such as aging shopping centers and uses that are helped to support and invigorate established neighborhoods. So the timing of tonight's action on this plan amendment is a little bit unusual since you'll be considering the rezoning case immediately following your decision on the plan amendment. To help frame the discussion, we provided this slide that helps summarize the context for evaluation of a comprehensive plan amendment as opposed to a rezoning. And basically, if you look at numbers 2 and 3 on the slide, when considering a land use plan amendment, the question is, in general, what would you most like to see on the property in the next 20 to 30 years? It's a very long-term vision. Also, consideration is usually given to the widest range of possible uses, the 30,000-foot picture for the site, recognizing that over 20 to 30 years, the site may go through multiple rezonings. And so that's why it's important to separate the land use plan amendment from the rezoning case particulars, because what is done on the plan map can support future rezonings 7 years after the rezoning you're considering tonight, for example. We'd also like to note that approval of the plan amendment is not a prerequisite for approving the associated rezoning, and vice versa. Approval of the rezoning is not dependent on whether or not the plan amendment is adopted. The Planning Board considered this case at their March 21st meeting, and I believe the Board Chair is here to present their discussion and recommendation.
Hello, good evening. Denial, first time for us for doing something like that, but I think Scott mentioned it, described it perfectly. Rezoning and the CPA are not joined at the hip. We can look at those independently. We do not have to necessarily marry them up as we go through the process. And in this case, as Scott also mentioned, the question, what do we want to see for the next 25 to 30 years in this area? And the answer was not industrial. Now that, the only other thing I would call your attention to is the dwindling supply of industrial land that's available. And if we're looking down 25 years down the road and somehow the severely restricted rezoning that we'll be talking about later falls through for whatever reason, there'll still be an industrial opportunity there should we have approved this CPA. And that's the way we looked at it, very much as an independent activity. One thing that came up in discussion, I know it's not necessarily germane to this case in particular, but in the broad scope of things, there's a storage facility going to be discussed later in a rezoning, and that it comes under industrial use may have been a description for a previous time. We've seen in other cases and other instances more and more these types of facilities being closer to neighborhoods, used for individuals who have smaller homes or what have you, not necessarily the janitorial company looking to stock up all their stuff. So the idea that this is an industrial categorization may need to be revisited at some future time so we don't bump into this more and more. And that's all I have on this. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Questions for Mr. Evangelista? Okay, thank you.
So on balance, staff, as the board did, board recommended denial of the plan amendment by a vote of 7-0, and staff also recommends denial of the plan amendment for the reasons stated in the report. And that concludes our presentation, and the board chair and I are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ramage. Questions, comments from council members?
Just a question for clarification. If the applicant doesn't need the plan amendment to get a rezoning and build their product, remind us again why the request for the plan amendment.
Normally, this would be separated a little. The normal procedure would be you would consider the plan amendment first and then the rezoning. The reason is that the state passed a bill a few years back that says that both the planning board and town council need to make a finding whether or not a rezoning case conforms with the land use plan, if the town has one. That legislation does not say this, bind the hands of council or the planning board and say you have to vote consistently, but you need to make the finding. So it kind of begs the question, and the process then working with town legal staff some years back was that we initiate a plan amendment, the applicant does, to solve the question of what does the plan say. That way, when the rezoning case comes through, if it made sense to change the land use plan, now you've got extra support. You've found that the rezoning conforms with the amended plan. It's just kind of happenstance. It's a little bit unusual tonight that you're getting them both in the same evening. Usually you try and solve the one first so that the planning board can make a finding knowing whether the plan was changed. You know, they can then give you a recommendation on the rezoning.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, motion?
I mean, my comments would be, I actually agree with Ms. Evangelista and the planning board that maybe we ought to, sometime in the future look at planning designations and things for today's modern storage facilities that, I don't know that I'd classify it as industrial, whereas I can totally appreciate the concern for labeling this industrial on the land use plan. Should this facility go out of business, assuming the rezoning is even approved, 5, 10, whatever years from now, could an industrial use come in and I match the plan, That part of it does concern me. So I get the comments and appreciate the planning and zoning board's work on that and tend to agree. I think it's something we need to look at. I don't want to really mention much about the rezoning. I just don't have a problem with the use, but I struggle with amending the land use plan under today's current designations.
So the whole idea, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, I actually had was trying to follow all of this. The phenomena of storage, it's really exploding. And I don't know if we've had other examples over the years where you have that type of phenomena, but it doesn't feel like it fits as industrial. That's your whole point, right? So you have it set for that with the intention of possible storage, but that goes away. Then you have this risk of industrial, which is typically viewed as a more intense use next to residential.
I mean, they could build a nice big storage unit building,
right,
maybe last 10 years, and then goes out and somebody goes in and turns it into a manufacturing facility.
Well, that would be assuming that we approve the zoning with conditions, and those conditions stay with the land, not with the current owner. So we would basically, that could be zoned out, but But I would say that in all the talk we've done about redevelopment and connectivity, to take this out of the current plan where there's clear connectivity from Kilmaine straight across onto a redevelopable property, by carving it out and putting something there that we can't pass through, just messes the whole thing up. Kilmaine's the obvious way to have the intersection's already a T. We walk to that shopping center from our house. It's an obvious place for connectivity into the shopping center because there's just left in and right out from the shopping center. So it's the perfect place to connect to a redeveloped shopping center. And I think if we took it out of here, we'd mess that all up forever.
Other comments? Motion?
For making a motion to go along with them and deny the proposed land use plan, I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor of denial of the CPA amendment, please vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries and the CPA amendment is denied. We now move on to the rezoning, and it's rezoning 15 REZ 26. Ms. Bierman's going to do the rezoning, and she's going to give a staff report. Once again, we're going to hear from Mr. Evangelista, and then we may act on the rezoning. Ms. Spearman.
Thank you. This is the rezoning request associated with the plan amendment that you just discussed and denied. Again, the vicinity map. The existing zoning on this site is general commercial on a small portion R12. It's also in the general commercial portion is also in the mixed-use overlay district for the Mayfair area. The proposed zoning for the site is industrial conditional use and removal of the mixed-use overlay district. And these are the proposed zoning conditions. The land use would be limited to a maximum of 100,000 square feet of mini storage or an 18,000 square foot office. The maximum building height would be 3 stories and 35 feet. With regard to any uses, mini storage, access to rental units would be through a common entrance without exterior roll-up doors. And also with regard to the mini storage buildings, they would have the appearance of 2-story buildings with a mansard roof, no windows on the north wall facing the adjacent neighborhood, and no vehicular access along the north side unless required for emergency access. These last conditions were added after the council hearing. This shows the current land use plan, again with the plan designation of commercial and a small portion in the low-density residential. At the Town Council public hearing, there were 7 speakers for the rezoning case. 6 spoke in favor and 1 opposed. Most of the comments concerned access, architecture of the building, and buffers and connections with the adjacent residential property. Also, at the Planning and Zoning Board public hearing, which was held since there were some additions to the zoning conditions, there was 1 speaker who spoke in favor of the request. And with that, I will ask Mr. Evangelista to present the Planning and Zoning Board recommendation.
The 6-to-1 vote on this particular case, the 1 did have some nexus to the CPA that we talked about a little while earlier, and just that it would be inconsistent. There was this being our first go-round with having the CPA and the rezoning back-to-back, but still having an apparent wall in between as you do your deliberations. Made it a little difficult for some folks to reconcile how they would go about things, but it created just one person saying, well, for example, the property was not taken out of the MXD because it was denied in the CPA, yet there was no preliminary development plan with the rezoning, which would be required of a property that's inside an activity center. And was there an anticipation that it would be pulled from that activity center and therefore would not require one? And that was the nay vote, was basically to call attention to some of the procedural difficulties that might come with something such as this. And on the case's merits in and of itself, the fact that most of the neighbors were in favor, the one who spoke to us was clearly in favor. We were moved by what we saw at the public hearing. We felt that if the neighbors were behind that from a rezoning standpoint, with as many very specific conditions placed on this property, and I heard that mentioned earlier, that is something that weighs in the decision, that we were okay with going forward with this. So were it not for the linkages to the CPA, this would have most likely been a unanimous approval. Have you any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Evangelista? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That concludes staff's comments.
Okay. Questions or comments about the rezoning?
Comments would be I support the rezoning. I think we're all aware this land has been looked at in the past numerous times for a number of different uses, whether that's been townhomes, senior living, water tower. I mean, we kind of looked at it a bunch of times. The residents have always opposed those high-traffic type uses. I was kind of shocked, actually, they supported the storage unit site, but given the number of conditions that have been imposed upon it and the look and feel of it, I kind of understand why they support it. I think it'll blend into the surrounding community. Low traffic generator, no school kids, a lot of limitations on what can be done there. I've actually heard from a number of residents along Gordon, Rose, and Cornwall and such urging support for the project. I think the applicant's been very sympathetic to their concerns. I think he's addressed most, if not all of them. Planning and Zoning Board supports it. It's conditioned up one side and down the other, so I don't have a problem with the rezoning.
Other comments?
I would just say I disagree. Looking big picture at the Mayfair Plaza and the potential of having that redeveloped at some point, I don't think that this is the best use for this land. I don't think it's a good transition from the neighborhood to whatever is built there. And I think mansard roofs are an ugly reminder of the 70s. I hate that architecture style. I think it looks terrible. There's a storage unit that's built down off of 540 with a mansard roof. I could not believe, it just got built. I think it's a storage unit. It might be an office building, whatever it is so incredibly ugly. I cannot believe it when I saw it being built. I couldn't believe anybody was still building with a mansard roof right now. It's just not attractive at all, and I just don't think that's going to help at all. It's going to be like lipstick on a pig. So I'm voting against this. I don't like it at all.
I have trying to balance the property owner wanting to develop his land, wanting to do something that the neighbors can agree with, and I can certainly see why the neighbors would agree with it, because it does support their calm neighborhood, low traffic, low noise, closed at night. I mean, all the conditions that are on there makes it a great neighbor for the neighborhood. But that being said, I don't think it makes it I don't know that outweighs what we're putting there. Also knowing the neighbors want no connectivity to Gordon Street, no connectivity to Mayfair Plaza, and they've kind of been holding out hope that they would not get connected. It's just, we got to deal with connectivity at some point on this. If it's pulled out of the mixed-use area, we don't have to see a PDP, right?
That's correct, and it would need to come out of the mixed-use overlay district because mini storage is not allowed in the mixed-use overlay district.
See, that gives us the inability to see how this thing is going to connect to Mayfair Plaza in this activity center, which makes it basically a de-activity center. We're killing connectivity on Kilmaine into the area, and I know when it comes down to what's the least damage we can do to the neighbors of whatever they've been presented, this may be what the neighbors would vote for. And they have voted for this as what's been presented to them. But in the big picture of redeveloping the whole area, and if we're supposed to have that, well, we've already voted down the other that's got the 25 to 30 year plan. To me, it fits for it to be connected and part of Mayfair Plaza. And, I remember when the store there, the bagel store was a Hardee's. So things change over time. And I just think we've got to, I don't want to sacrifice this opportunity here to do something potentially, and I know it's a pie in the sky, and I don't have an opinion about architecture on it. I just don't think it fits all that we've been talking about connectivity and looking at other neighborhoods and connecting. Is it a suitable buffer? Well, it's quiet and that's great, but it just doesn't further what we're trying to do, and having walked there when it was Kmart, and my kids ride their bike there when it was Kmart. I mean, I'd like for it to be vibrant with connectivity, and I think this messes that whole thing up. And I'd like to, so the point was time to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion. I don't know if
you can make a motion. We can still discuss.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to deny the rezoning.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. Further discussion.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about with this one. I mean, the comments at the initial public hearing, the applicant's lengthy and really quite good presentation that we had at the public hearing, and your planning and zoning discussion and their unusual vote, voting yes on one half of it and no on the other half, staff reports, the fact that this is a simultaneous or back-to-back thing that we haven't talked about before. There's a lot to think about. So I just, rather than get lost in all of this, I just had to go back to the basics and ask, is this something I want to see on this particular piece of property? And my personal answer to that is no. And then I think, well, put my thoughts aside, is this really the best thing for the community in the long run to have here on this property? And the answer to that, I think, is no. Add that to the fact that I don't like things to be non-conforming with the comprehensive plan. Just putting it all together, I'm just not comfortable with approving the rezoning. Not without a lot of thought. Really wavered on this. But I think I'm coming down on to agree with the motion and to vote no.
Any other comments?
Wow. Yeah. When this first came forward and we looked at all that, personally, I really wasn't excited. I don't want to start repeating what everybody else said, but basically it was the conundrum of wanting to have something that neighbors would feel would be a good buffer, a good safe buffer, as you said, Don. And at the same time, I said to myself, I really want storage units next to me, and does that really get in the way of Mayfair being, in a lot of ways, that could be an entrance into town. I mean, as things are hopping downtown and we start seeing those dominoes spread, this could easily be a real shining star as we come into town. And now we've jumped ahead, and we've, in a sense, taken the easy way with the storage units. And I go back to Waldo Rood, which used to be the industrial highway. One by one, we took the easy way out, and we sacrificed all of our industry there because it became residential, so we had to change the name. It was kind of hard living on a nice 4-bedroom, 3-bath house on Cary Industrial Parkway, so we had to change the name. And, I don't know where I'm really struggling with this because but in the end, I remember the struggle we had improving Maynard Road and how strong the objections were. But we held true to the vision. We held true to that. And if you look at the improvements made since that has happened, we have a lot to be proud of on that road now. So, I actually thought I was the only one thinking that way, and this would just be a simple vote, and I might be the only negative there. At the same time, neighborhoods have put a lot of effort into this. They know what they're getting, and but as all of you have said, I think we should be demanding more and hoping for more and expecting more and trying to incent more for Mayfair Plaza. It deserves to be one of our shining stars as we go into town, and I'm really worried that a storage center will get in the way.
Any final comments? We have a motion on the table to deny the rezoning request. All in favor of the motion to deny, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Motion carries 5-1. The request is denied. We have a consistency statement. There are 4 options. Based on my information, I would like a motion that matches option B2, which would follow a denial of the CPA and a denial of the zoning. Anyone?
Go ahead.
I'll make that motion, what you just said.
Okay. Do we need to read the motion?
No, it's in the materials.
Okay.
Yes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nope.
Motion carries 5-1. Thank you, Ms. Bierman. There are no other items on the agenda except for a closed session. Would someone like to read motion to go into closed session? And Ms. Bush?
In the absence of Ms. Bush,
Here we can't go into closed
I'd
session.
like to, pursuant to General Statute, we'll see if I can read, General Statute 143-318.11A4, 6, and 3, I move that we hold a closed session to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or businesses, other businesses in the town, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by town in negotiations. Number 2, to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of one or more, that's not iron ore, or more individual or prospective public officers or employees. 3, consult with attorneys employed by and or retained by the town in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorneys and the town. And 4, to present the disclosure of information that is made privileged or confidential by General Statute 143-318.10, letter E.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in closed session. We'll reconvene our council meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And a second.
Did that for you.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a production of Cary TV. Visit the Town of Cary's website at townofcary.org.